No. The Beat 103. I can't say that. Drums Radio. We made a mad mistake. Drums Radio, welcome to another great. Mr. Sil catches up with just people from great and amazing people in the Afro House scene doing great things. And one of the gentlemen that are doing amazing things and setting trends and building roads.
Hello.
Sorry, wait 1 second. I have got myself on a double feedback here. Clearly, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Sure.
There it goes. Trust me to have the double screens open. And that's why you can hear yourself bubbling back.
Yeah, I was hearing myself going back as well. I was like, what is going on? Okay.
Oh, it's going well already. Okay, so I'm joined by someone who's been creating waves, doing great things, and from South Africa to Europe, to the States, to the UK. His name is Floyd Lavine. He's one of the great producers, oraphers, the DJs. He's part of one of the biggest groups in Afrohouse, Rise. And he's now taken up the opportunity and taken all of his skills, and he's going to be creating and discussing to us today as well about his new label called Afrikan Tales as well. I'm excited to have him on air. Please welcome Floyd Lavine. How are you doing, sir?
Thank you for having me and for hosting me in your wonderful show. It's been a long time. We've been wanting to chat to catch up on this. So
it's
really good to see. It's good to see you well and healthy and alive.
It's true. Right. So you've had a bit of a strange journey because you're originally from South Africa, correct?
Yeah, originally from South Africa.
And then you traveled. How did you travel from South Africa and find yourself in the European countries, as you might say? Tell us that story.
Yeah, I guess it started way back when I was a bit younger. I think South Africa and the UK have always had history.
Mm-hmm.
So we're able to travel and get kind of a visa to go to the UK. So I took that opportunity when I was a bit younger, and I was like, look, I need to go check out those shores, you know. I've heard a lot about London. I had some mates there, and they were like, you know, go check that spot out. And I managed to go there for a couple of years just to check it out, and eventually I liked it. I stayed over, but you know, London was my institution to the music, man. Ministry of Sound, you know, those Louis Vega residencies. Do you know what I mean? The Defected Nights. So those were kind of like, you know, that's how, you know, Head Candies and all those kind of things started off my journey into the UK scene, and eventually, you know, the rabbit hole as it opens up, you end up with Fabric and all the rest as it goes. So that was my first encounter with the European scene, and then after that, I came back to South Africa after the 2010 World Cup, and after that, we did some events aside, and then I was like, you know, some homies of mine were like, listen, go check out Berlin, you know. I was like, what? When I got there, I was like, oh my God, it's kicking off here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was my introduction to, like, you know, a few years later, introduction to Berlin, and then I met up with my partners, and the rest is, like, you know, as we are right now.
Yeah, indeed, where we're at now. So, I mean, how did you first find yourself? You know, when you found yourself in London, were you already into house music? Was it something that you were already following, or is it something that you've?
Sure. I mean, house music is in South Africa is one of our staple diets. You know. I grew up on like people like Vinnie Da Vinci, Christos, you know, DJ Fresh was Fresh from South Africa was one of the pioneers of the music that I was into at the time. And we were lucky that radio was playing the music, you know. You were able to get, like, you know, either DJ compilations before there was, you know, it was basically like a mix.
Yeah.
But it was a big compilation series that were going around during that time, and I fell in love with that, you know, and that's how pretty much, you know, it began here in South Africa, and then by going to London, it was just a continuation of starting to see those names on the compilations. Now you can see them live, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was a nice jump. Like, I could go check out Tony Humphries, you know what I mean? I'd be like, what? Okay, go check that out. You can check out Masters at Work. You could be able to see all those artists that were, like, you know, there, and you're now seeing them live, as London is London, you know?
Yeah.
So that was the high point of, I mean, the highlights of being in that kind of environment.
Yeah. And how did you find it? I mean, what was when you say consuming the music wise, what's the difference between sort of a South African consuming, say, house in instances, and a European side, which is kind of a slight difference?
Yeah, I think the difference from my point of view is that as in South Africa, is because it's so, I mean, music is involved with dance anyway, you know what I mean? I think for us, house music was one of the things that, you know, you go out to, and actually the DJ culture within house music in South Africa was huge. You know, your mixes, your mixtapes were, let's call that mixtapes, were the thing that got you in, you know, into, let's say, the scene, or got you into playing, or got you known. So you would definitely know someone's mixtape more than you know the songs. And I still think that it's still kind of like that today. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can still hold it down by mixtapes. You're like, okay, this you know, this DJ does the, you know, presents a style of mixtape, and most people are still known for their mixtapes, and that actually breaks you into a certain space and a certain scene, and people follow you that way. I think that's the difference. Where I think overseas people are into their producers. You know? They would definitely be like, look, I'm gonna go check out this and so person. I'm gonna go check out this because I like their music, I like their production. I mean, it's still the same this side, but I mean, that's how I grew up before. So, but like, you know, in the UK, especially, you know, a hot record, once you drop a hot record, that could set you in for like 10 years into an industry, into a career. You know? And you somehow learn your craft as you go along. You know what I mean?
I always say,
no,
I always say it's like a 3-minute track away from being famous. So that's what it is.
Exactly. That's how I found it. You know, that market was completely different, and the headspace of it. I mean, it was more either you did the records or you did an event. You know, the events would definitely, if you had a good party, it would definitely lead you. So people would follow songs, artists, and events. Where here would follow the DJ through the mixtapes.
Ah, yes, of course.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. Is it because also that the mixtapes are also played in some of the I forgot what they call them, the people carriers, where people use
the taxis. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, definitely. Like, you know, the taxis were also one of the main distribution channels for the music. So if you were able to compile a super hot mixtape, I mean, the taxi driver will be like, you know what, that's a dope mixtape. For him, for the whole day, he's got that, you know, for the whole week. You know what I mean? And if people are bumping into it, they'll ask him, who's this and so. He's not going to be telling you the names. That was before, let's say before you could Shazam and stuff, you know what I mean? You'd be like, oh, yeah, that's DJ Smooth or DJ whoever. Do you know what I'm saying? And that was the easiest way. And if it's hot, you just burn it and give it out to different people.
Pass it on, everybody gets a copy.
And it's still the same now. If your record gets into, you know, if your mixtape is hot, sometimes you're in the, you know, you're in a taxi and if it's hot, you know, and DJs still get known that way.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so you kind of like made your journey. You've gone to London, and you say you've gone through and found yourself in Berlin now. How was that experience? Because Berlin must have been quite a change in culture for you as well.
Yeah, it was definitely. I mean, apart from people speaking German,
that included.
That included. Yeah, it was a kind of, you know, a different culture. I think where London is more kind of media orientated and is able to you know, to package things and resell it onto a global platform. Berlin is more insular. It looks inside of itself. You know what I mean? It's kind of keeps its own beat or its own flavor, and it really doesn't really look to the outside as influences. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was actually quite. It's quite nice to see a scene that is so, I don't know. It's got, let's say, some of the parts got lots of integrity to it. You know what I mean? They let's not even integrity. Let's call it, they're just purists in a way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, you want the big clubs where have no cell phones, no nothing. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's already in itself. Like, when you get into a club, you're getting in. We're not about that. You know, you're not telling anybody you're in the club. There's no pictures. You're in. That is it.
Immerse yourself in the music only.
Yeah, you lose yourself in the music. You lose yourself in the conversations. You lose yourself in the vibe, in the energy. And such a small thing, it's such a major thing, you know?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So yeah, so already you're having that, you're like, damn, what? It means that I can't. Yeah, get off your phone, mate. This is it, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that allows you to have that connectivity with the club, with the people, with the vibe, and yeah.
Yeah,
So that was
definitely.
that was one of the major changes, you know, to see. And I mean, clubs are open until whenever, and they can start whenever they want. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely that
Monday
feeling as
to
well.
Monday, you know what I mean? So music is one of those things that, like, from a bar to a club, it's just, you know, yeah.
It just keeps going, and I love that
It's
about Berlin
going.
as well.
Yeah, the culture. It's innovative. It's future. Um, it's like, you know, you can find your place, but you know what I mean. They're not scared to experiment.
Yeah, yeah. What was the first tune that made house music stand out to you?
Ooh, damn. What can I say? Which tune can I say? I was actually trying to go back to.
The first one that kind of threw you into that world of like, oh, I like house music.
Oh man, because there's so many. But I mean, the one that when I was younger, the one that really kind of captured. I feel like Moloko, Sing It Back, kind of did that for me.
Yeah.
Fish Go Deep. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That I mean, even still today, you know, the Fish Go
Yeah.
Deep.
It just killed.
I love that era, actually. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it still rocks for me. Another track that was actually quite a crossover and was like weird. I was like, I love that French house touch. You know what I mean? Like that was like I loved who was that? The Daft Punk stuff, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first thing was their first album that came out, and yeah, it was it just showed me the possibilities of what house was, you know, because from our end, like, you know, I was starting to get into Africanism through actually, what was his name, Bob Sinclair. They had a label called Yellow, and I mean, what's the track called Yellow, but Africanism, and there was a guy called DJ Oskido who was influential in bringing this whole series as well across to this side. You know what I mean? And that was like, you know, DJ Gregory and that sound was like, I was like, what is this? You know what I mean? I was like, okay, this is super dope. But I mean, for us to have that combination, eventually from that led to, like, you know, Black Coffee coming in and redefining what South African kind of Afro house will sound like for the future. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So that was like, you know, that was just, I was still very young at that time, but those are the sounds that I kind of remember.
Yeah, definitely. I clearly can remember that kind of movement coming through as well, and that sound, and just getting. I mean, I was still young, still just typing away, listening. I was trying to listen to our radio stations, like what's that radio station I used to listen to? It's gone out of my mind, but it will come back in a second. I'll remind you. But yeah, just tuning in to try to listen to the tunes and try to make. Please tell me what tune this is. The DJ just to mention it, so I could write it down and then go looking for it.
Yeah, because I know, man, because you had to kind of like keep a record, like, you know, like taping it as well, like, you know.
Tape it back, listen back to it. People don't know the troubles we had to go through just to try to get a little bit of the Afro House back in the day.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, moving forward, how did the meeting of the Rise, because Rise is kind of like being a phenomenal institute for Afro House in Berlin.
Sure.
How did that all come about? How did you meet the guys there and all stuff?
I mean, it was organic, to be honest. I met the Hyena a few years prior to that, and the Hyena was based in Germany, and then the crew is like, eventually I started to do parties in South Africa with the friends of mine, and we did some parties here, and we kept on inviting over the Watergate crew. For a while, we're like, okay, cool, let's invite some of the artists that I like Mateus Meyer, Marco Risman, and all the guys. And because I had a lot of Cape Town at the time, I was living in Cape Town, had a lot of German tourists expats as well. Yeah, and also expats as well, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was actually a perfect mix. We were doing our thing, combining with that. It kind of gave us time. So I was like, okay, this could be something, you know? It could be something. We went over with the friends of mine, we went over to Watergate. They invited us over. We brought a whole crew down. You know what I mean? We came in hot, you know? It was nice. We shook up the place for a little bit. And after that, we started to have conversation with Robin from Watergate, with Hyena. and myself, and then also a partner of ours, Dede. We were like, you know what, this looks like it could be something, you know. And then eventually we threw our very first party in 2015. And yeah, man, the first one, people were like, what is this? You know, they were down for that, you know. And Berlin, I think it was the perfect time. Berlin is actually got an interesting history with African people. There are African people there, do you know what I mean? There is a vibe going on, but there wasn't a vibe that was like a rise vibe, but it was like, you know, Afro House, that combination. Do you know what I mean? African House mix, you know what I'm saying? So that combination of that. And there's always been, you know, like different types of Afrobeat, you know, all different stuff. But like and also there hasn't been a major club that was looking to showcase that style of sound. And we happen to be, you know, the same time, and Watergate was willing to take that opportunity and take that chance with us. So yeah, that's how we met. We're actually all friends now, but like, you know, we're also just homies before. It was quite organic. And then eventually, you know, we were like, okay, let's add, you know, eventually Minko came through, Jamie came through. They were also friends. They were also friends of my friend, you know, so it was just organic, you know. And then Mr. Aziz was a friend of our friend. We kept on booking him, you know what I mean? So it became that whole kind of like, you know, it was family vibes, man.
And it is a family, you know. If you ever get the opportunity, for those who are listening in, ever get the opportunity to go to Rise or meet the guys in Berlin, it is a family. All of you are so friendly and so safe to hang out with. Every single one of you guys. Every time I meet you guys, I'm just like, it's like it's like, you know, family from abroad and that stuff. So
man, good peoples.
Definitely got to check out. Who are some of the more interesting people that you enjoyed that came to Watergate and performed on an Afro House level?
Oh man, for me, I have to say, Awesome Lade was just a monster, man. I just love how he comes and just captures it. Like, he doesn't mess around, man. Like, every time he comes on the main floor, he slows it down. I remember this one time I was playing before him, and I was like, you know, I was just like, I was nervous. I'm like opening for him. So he comes to me, he's like, yo, push it up a little bit. I'm like, don't worry about it. Just put it up to 130. I'm like, what? He's like,
what?
I'm kidding, right? I'm kidding. He's like, slow this shit down, man. Stop playing so fast. You know what I mean? I was like, oh shit. Sorry, man. I'm playing so fast because I'm getting nervous. He's like, yeah, bring it down, you know? So he was always amazing to capture the spirit. We're always diverse, man. I liked also who did we bring that I actually enjoyed? Mr. Al K. He's
an immense
that spirit. Yeah, you know, he's always nice to kind of see Mr. Al K come. Man, we've had so many. I really enjoyed booking the people. To be honest, like when everybody came over, Jeff Afrozilla Jeff loved it over there, man. We loved Jeff to come over. You know what I mean? Jeff came over and he's just like, his sound even started getting a bit tougher. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I'm like, come on.
Start to bring the bass,
Yeah, Jeff, and man, what a super DJ. He's an inspiration for me. And so we eventually built, you know, everybody brought their own different flavor.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, Rise, one of the, you know, it made the impact in 2015 and just been continuously growing and building and putting on stuff with nature as well. So it's been awesome watching you guys from London, because we kind of like trying to, I would say, emulate, but to do our thing here in the UK as well. So to having you guys doing it has made us think it definitely can happen here in the UK, and it's been building greatly as well.
Definitely.
Talk to us about music and how it's been. So what inspired you to sort of like, because you released a number of tracks, over the last few years and stuff. Talk to us about some of your more favorite tracks that you've released and how that impacted you and the kind of reasons behind them.
Behind it. Like, you mean like in terms of what the impact it created for my going forward to my career and stuff like this? Or
let's talk about it that way.
Oh, okay, sure. I think having had Rise as a collective has been really important for my career. And I think that collective, you know, just having the experience, like, the combination of people where you can, you know, bounce ideas off, and also people that have been in the industry for a while, and getting that advice, and also being able to throw your ideas across, and people are like, oh, we like that, you know. I think for me as a career-wise, you know, the amazing thing was that we wanted to create a vibe first. That was important for us to capture that, you know, let's say that the Afro spirit, or in terms of like, you know, the Afro House essence, you know what I mean? And we wanted to capture that because we felt that, you know, we could come in there and offer something a little bit different. And I think it kind of, it shows through time that it happened that way, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
And what was important was the people, the relationship that we built around that. So I think for my first release on Rise, it was amazing that we had the maestro Pablo Fierro remix my record. He was a monster, you know. He came with something completely that I would not necessarily be into, and that's the beauty of a remix, is that, you know, you get someone that's going to give you such a flavor that you won't expect, and you have to be willing to be open enough to appreciate. Yeah, do you know what I mean? And not necessarily, because I find, like, you know, in these modern times that people want you to remix stuff, but they want their flavor on your remix. You know what I'm saying? You're like,
that's not a remix.
Yeah, it's called a remix. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
that's a copy of what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
A remix is something different. It's supposed to be something out of my.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So that was really nice. You know, Pablo was amazing. That Masala remix really did wonders to introduce me again into different markets and different people, and really did work for the label. And then we just continued building from, you know, from personal relationships. To be honest, we started off, it was all organic. You know, we were pushing in terms of making sure that, you know, we communicate with different partners. We bring people over to our events. They brought us over to their events. And we slowly but surely grew that way with our partners as well. Like, you know, the guys from Madora's, they became really good friends of ours. So we were constantly just, you know, feeding each other, you know what I mean? Trying to build each other up, you know? And the guys from June as well. And so all those relationships and the music, and also, you know, just having the insight into how we wanted to move, and how we wanted to, what is our purpose and our goal. And I think because of that combination with the music, it kind of, you know, it built my career in a way, you know,
and it blossomed in itself as well.
Yeah, it blossomed in itself, man. And I mean, along the way, I've been releasing some, let's say, I've always got different styles of music, but it's all within the, let's say, expanding of the Afro sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let's talk a bit more intricately about this expanding of the Afro sound, because there's different formats of the sound. For those of us who are a bit more deeper in the sound, you've got Portuguese sound, which is much faster, it's still Afro House, it's just very fast. And then you've got a much slower, deeper. And I would suggest that some people say, I would say personally, that Amapiano is like R&B slow jams is our slow jams. So Afro House is Amapiano is our slow jams, mate. So that's how I kind of look at it. And Gqom would be sort of like a faster hip hop sound, like maybe a southern hip hop kind of a sound would be the Gqom, but it's still all Afro House. So that's how I sort of look at it. I mean, when you're defining it to individuals, how do you find discussing or delivering that?
I think, yeah, you're right about what you just said, but I feel like maybe we're getting a bit nerdy, but hey, let's go for it. You know, we're slicing it.
Slicing it up.
Because I only try to slice it up in my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, where do I want to see it? Where do I want to expand to? Where should there be pathways? You know, like, I mean, as you know, the current sound of Afro House, I find, like, you know, it's quite synthy at the moment. It's a lot more, let's say, it's a lot more combination of a lot more darker stuff, which is great, because you can get that kind of stuff which flows in the club.
Yeah, it's big clubs kind of sound at the moment.
More like, you know, more like, which I have to give it up to my brother. You know, he literally set the sound. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's like people, and he's just constantly evolving. He's just leaving people behind. You know what I mean? So he set the sound. I think there's there's also, like, you know, so these are just minor. I mean, I'll put that all under Afro House.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think there's an Afro House, there's an Afrotech.
Yeah.
The same thing that there is in everything. And then, like, you know, I'm trying to push as well, like, you know, a combination of that to the Afrotechno, to like a more weirder sound.
Yeah.
There's already even more stuff, like, you know what I mean? So I feel like Afro is in a very good space, because if you're a young producer coming into it now and seeing the possibilities of the sound, you're going to create something even more crazier. You know what I mean?
You don't have to be held in, as a young producer, you don't have to be held in the hinges of what is currently out there. You can expand outwards and create something new. And I guess that's where when I say like Afro House is like the umbrella, and all the other sounds that are coming underneath it are just sort of creating underneath it, and it's like go for it, because that's what R&B hip hop kind of did. That it said, it doesn't matter what sound, it's just go for it, create it, and then we all accept it. If it's good, we're going to accept it. We're going to take it on as a sound. So, I don't see why people like, oh no, let's try to box it. Don't box it. It's Afro House, but it's just a branch, an offshoot, a root.
It's an offshoot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's an offshoot, and I think we should be ready to embrace, like all these things. Like, I mean, I love also the Kuduro sound. Is coming
the Kuduro sound.
Like, God damn, this is insane. Do you know what I mean? I think every place I heard there's even another kind of like sound coming out from like Rotterdam. There's like these like these offshoots of electronica, but with like with African heritage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're talking about. Like with that, we're bringing it home, but it's electronic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just excited of what I'm gonna hear in 2022. That's what I'm excited when stuff opens up,
Yeah, definitely. And let's talk about that. Let's talk about the COVID situation and how you've been. Because clearly you've been in, lockdown, but you're in the studio doing your stuff as well, I'm hearing, because we're going to discuss in a minute the new label that you've brought together. And I know there's a lot of music on there as well. But how's that experience been with COVID and the actual journey of doing music?
Cool. I mean, that's been tough, to be honest. Like, I don't want to, it's been a weird world, unexpected. I had to deal with all the let's say, like the process of grief. Looking at it, going like, oh no, don't worry, it's gonna be fine. We're gonna be back on the road again in like 2 weeks. Just locked down for 3 months. And my head has been like that for a while, right? Okay, lockdown for a few weeks, but it's been going on now. It's going to be 2 years almost. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is going to be 2 years, and you think like, okay, so I had to deal with that process. It took me a while to kind of like get through it, and then after a while, I was like, what, I just have to keep creating. There's nothing more I can do. I've realized like once you've learned the tools to create whatever destiny or life you want to do, you have to still create. You know what I mean? It's like you can't even think about like. Of course, you have to think about like. You need money, but you have to remember you've got the tools to create. So creating is like, as I said, money is a tool that makes sure that, you can do shit with, you know what I mean? But like creation is like, it's like, let's say money is the axe, and then you can take the axe to go chop the wood. Do you know what I'm saying? Bring the wood to the fire. Do you know what I'm saying? So if you're able to kind of chop the wood and create fire, you must keep on creating. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I had to kind of get myself into that mindset of like, okay, I've got the tools, but now I need to keep on creating, because if I don't do that, the tools, the fire stops burning. Do you know what I'm saying? So that dealing with that, but mentally, with that other way, like, for creating it was getting back into that headspace. I just had to do it. But mentally, man, anxiety kicks in, life happens. You know what I mean? You don't know what's gonna be happening next. Those are the natural
occurrences.
You know what I mean? You have to battle them. You know what I mean? Like, okay, cool. Speaking to friends, what's going on? How you guys dealing with it? Reaching out and stuff like that. So COVID has been it's been tough. I've been lucky to have a studio in Berlin where I share among friends, so we can split up the pay on that kind of stuff. And just being locked down and just going for it, man.
Yeah, man, totally. But you have established something which has really been good, because you've now launched a new label, and we want to discuss about that. It's called Afrikan Tales, I believe. Tell us what the Afrikan Tales is going to be about. I mean, what kind of music we can expect from it, and maybe the journey towards that as well. What's the inspiration and the mind thought behind that process?
I think the process is much more interesting, to be honest. I mean, the process, again, the gift and the curse of the pandemic was it made all this process a bit faster. Something what I would have done, like, say, 5 years from now. I eventually started to do it now, and I think Afrikan Tales came from the birth of like, let's tell our own narratives. Do you know what I mean? And also, one is to tell your own narrative as a storyteller. So for me, from where I come from, it's like looking at Africa as a whole, not as some divided, carved up place,
Piece of cake.
Yeah, piece of cake. I think we've got stories that are interesting, and I wanted those narratives to not to allow media to tell us our narrative, you know. So that was the aim and the purpose for Afrikan Tales. Is like everyone's got and also apart from that, everyone's got a story about why they like Africa. So then also it doesn't matter if you white, Puerto Rican, whatever. What is your Afrikan tale?
Yeah,
you know, I want to hear what you have to say about, you know, this place. You know what I mean? Like pretty much the whole world is dancing to this beat. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a fact. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I want to hear your Afrikan tale. What is your relationship with black music in a way? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
Or with just, you know, what is your, if you really love, you know what I mean? Like, I want to hear your narratives, and we're doing that. So we're gonna do that, and with that, we're gonna put a website where we're gonna, you know, Afrikan Tales website, which is about retelling our own narratives, reimagining another future, because we're all just a story away. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
The future of what is going to be music and stuff, as you might say, the future of black. In some instances, some we can expect some Afrofuturism, some Afrofuturisticism in there as well.
Exactly. Definitely. Music wise, that is definitely, I mean, that, you know, borrowing from the past to the future. Like I said, it's having unlimitless ideas, but also having a purpose to why you're doing it. I think that's also important, you know. I guess most people, like, you can choose either, okay, fair enough, whatever your journey is. Some people just want the fame. Some people want to tell new stories. For me, it's about, like, you know, telling stories as well as, you know, inspiring others to think beyond that. You know what I mean?
Of course, yes,
beyond
of course.
What we started, they can take it even further. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
And if I can be if I can be part of that narrative to rewrite those stories, that'll be exciting.
That'd be awesome. I mean,
yeah.
You've released what can I say? Is it a would you call it a small EP of number of tracks?
Yeah, it's a nice small little EP, you know, just to begin the narrative. You know what I'm saying?
To tickle the taste buds, as I call it.
Yeah, just to tickle the taste buds, definitely, man. To tickle and I wanted to do something that I wouldn't expect for myself, but also would. You know what I mean? And I didn't want to start off like, again, trying to carve our own lane. Let's call it that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, okay. So tell us about some of the tracks that are on this new EP that people can listen to and.
Yes. Yeah. To check out the EP. The EP is called Storytellers EP. It's a Storyteller EP, and I've actually collaborated with some friends of mine. Again, people that I find inspiring, people that are inspired by the continent as well, and inspired by what we are doing about our movement. So the first single is "We Here Now," featuring Floyd Lavine. I like the difference, because she does like more electro, and she's a singer, and she's like, you know, she does more on, again, I said I'm inspired by Morocco as well, so I love that. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's totally back to the first time, like, you know, when I heard that music, I was like, okay, I wanted to kind of take it back to that moment, the late 90s, early 2000s, you know? I was like, okay, so with the first record, it has that. You know, it's got that old school soul, but like still future in a way. Do you know what I mean? It's just, I just wanted to be soft with that. Do you know what I'm saying? I just wanted to introduce the soft, just an easy classic record that you can just, you go out, you listen to it, you sing along, you enjoy your night, you know, have a couple of drinks with the lads or the ladies. You know what I mean? Like, it ain't hard to get into it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Can we expect a maybe an Inu Napa, a remix of that nature from that track? Are we looking forward to something like that? Is it something that you've thought about?
Look, the whole purpose for this year, I wanted to always just introduce originals. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
I want to get people on their originals, and the artists that I have, man, it's going to be amazing music. The reason why I wanted to do that is that I know sometimes, you know, as an artist, you give amazing tracks, and then the remix overshadows your track.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Or it doesn't overshadow it, but let's call it, it takes it on another different journey.
Yes.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
And then I would, of course, I think I'm going to keep the masters, have them hot, have them ready, have the parts ready. I don't know what I'm going to do with the parts. Maybe do like something like, you know, a vinyl release of just the remixes. You know what I'm saying? Or do a compilation of remixes. You know, things like this will happen in the future. But for now, I want to introduce the artists like, this is their story. This is it. There's nothing more. There's nothing more they can give you. That's who they are. No remixes. That's them.
Yeah.
Take it and leave it. You know what I'm saying?
It's awesome.
Let's talk about their story. That's
yeah. Sorry. Okay, awesome. So we're looking for that. What's the second and third release? Or should we discuss the second release actually? When's the next release and what's it going to be?
So our thing is that we started off with releasing only on Spotify only, and we're doing a single Spotify only. I think now it's just also just thinking of different ways to release records. Like not the EP is 4 tracks, but we're releasing every 2 weeks, and then at the end the EP is going to come out on the 12th of March.
Right.
And full EP will then be available on all stores like Track Stores, Beatport, all available. But then for now, it's going to be just only Spotify releases, introduce the records a little bit.
Of course.
Work the EP a bit. You know what I mean? And so the next release is going to be skirts and pants. Yeah, that's more like that's on that Afrofuturism type. Yeah. So it's kind of dirty, it's kind of future, it's kind of mixed with Gqom, but it's not. But it's like it's like on a techno tip, but it's not.
But it's not.
You know what I mean?
It's
on a poor beat, it's an off beat. You know what I mean? Like it's like it's great beaty, but it's not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm going to ask you a question because something outside my head that's just popping in there.
Sure.
Afro House and Afrotourism, for me, they have a very close relationship, a link in such instances. Because I believe the music, sometimes people are looking for a kind of a futurized music that sort of links in what the future could have or demand or be. And I believe Afro House plays a very massive part of that because it's music that is created out of the mind and it's sort of like non-conceptual. You could build in anything and put in anything in it, which is a bit like what Afrofuturism is. How would you relate that with what you're doing currently?
Man, I mean, like, for me, like, I feel like sometimes, you hold yourself back. I mean, that's basically what I'm trying to do. It's about like, we have to imagine our future. And we have to tell our narrative. We have to write our narrative. It's like future projection. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and if that could come together with the sound, that'll be amazing. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't be bogged down into like. Remember, everything is just a narrative. Someone told you what you are thinking right now.
To do. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And if you don't get that, that's how it is. Like write it. Like don't even think. Like just write that authentic feel to a future. Do you know what I mean? And if enough people believe the new future, because right now I feel like we're just being told how to be. Do you know what I'm saying? I get that whole, like for me, success is not driving Mercedes Benzes and stuff. Good to the people that do it. That ain't success to me.
No.
You know what I'm saying? It ain't doing any of us favors. You know what I'm saying? It's like okay, you buying or you living off I don't know, like nothing that doesn't do anything for the soul of our minds. As people of Africa, ain't worth the story for me to tell. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's not a consumable.
Yeah, all that consumable culture, and then you're taking that as a notion of like it's success. I'm like, man, it would be amazing if we're all just on that tip of like, let's reimagine, let's retell the stories, let's read African, Black history, Black music, Black stories. Let's have that same energy towards like buying a Louis Vuitton. Do you know what I'm saying? And if we plant that seed into like the future of the people that are around and start to kind of cultivate that kind of energy, I think for me that's what Afrofuturism is about. You know what I'm saying?
No. Oh, definitely.
It's like look, you either for that or I like what you're doing, but like you know what I mean, like don't confuse the two. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. The whole vision, the future of how it should be and how it should be. We should not be relating it to what is seen as a consumable future, as you so put it.
Yeah.
But an idealism of what we can be and what can be created outside of the conceptual boxes that we've been built inside of.
Exactly. I'm still with it. I still get it. We have to live this life. It's not like some weird utopia vibe. We get it, but you can still tell different narratives inside the same story. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Wow. So do you think, because with Afro House, we're still not, I think that with any movement it needs a couple of parts. It needs the music, it needs the dance, and it needs the fashion as well, to become a massive movement that moves forward and then create something, which is what, if we take hip-hop had the break dance, it had Running Man and all those sort of dances, it had the music and all that stuff, then it had the fashion and there's because you had the Adidas, you had certain wear, the tracksuits, and you knew that was a hip-hop thing. Do you think currently, because currently I only believe that we've only got the one strand and maybe half of another one, we've only currently got the music.
Which one do you think we have?
I think we've only got the music. I think the fashion is what I think we need to find a fashion kind of groove that we need to be in. So Afro House can be defined by because when you see someone walking down the road towards you and you go, oh yeah, they're into hip hop, you can't kind of tell by the way they dress.
No, you can't. No, you can't. You can't.
I think you can.
No. I'm saying for hip hop, you can.
Yes, but for Afro House.
I agree with you. I'm
for hip
hop. Definitely,
I could snap straight. You're into hip hop. Afro House, you could walk past me. I'd never know you were into anything near Afro House.
No, you can't. That's what I wanted to say. You can't for Afro House. That's not possible.
Yeah. So how do we now find, as a movement or as a group of individuals now coming together to forward think about how Afro House grows?
That is a beautiful thought. I've never actually, you know what? I know about it. I understand it because I'm about that with all this, but I never actually. You're the first person. Good question. That's a great question.
Thank you. That's what I'm here for.
That's a great question. You're right, because like as you said, like the movement needs to have all those things like we've got the music. You're saying we don't have the fashion. I think it's hard because it's like, we're looking at it in terms of like. It's not hard because you can be black and still be into hip hop. No matter
where you are, it can be anything.
You'll see a hip hop guy mile away.
Yeah. What we need to do, I think, in my mind, I'm thinking because you can't see because some of us, we're in the circle, as I call it, the eye of the needle. Okay, we're here in the eye of the needle, so we already see the movement as this, but we're in the middle. But outside of that storm, you've got other people looking in now going, okay, so what is this? How do we get involved in the storm and that stuff of nature? So we now have to introduce those things into this eye of the needle so then they can propagate outwards, because that's what allows you.
I think, you know what? One, I like what you're thinking. Two, it's true what you say. I believe that the people that are outside, the younger kids, the younger lads, the younger ladies, the people that are on the outside that are seeing it, they're going to be the influence of this. I feel like, yes, we've got the music, but the people that are in the music, they're old, man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
sorry to say it.
Yeah, I'm just
sorry to say, but it's the truth. You have to say it as it is.
It's like it needs to be taken to another step. Do you know what I'm saying? It needs to be taken to a place where you can actually see the culture of Afro House. The culture.
Yes.
Not just the music alone. Not just walking to a club like, okay, you this, but the culture of it. Because right now, someone that's dressed in. It needs to tap into that youth culture.
The youth culture. More. Yeah. If we can tap in there, then the movement moves. It may become us more, because then it becomes more of an economical factor, simply because we start to earn more money out of it. And let's be quite frank, we do want to earn some money. I'm not saying a lot, but just a little would be great.
Yeah, definitely.
But those things we need to, as a group or as individuals, all of us that are involved, whether you're a massive label, name, number, whatever, or smallest guy, needs to come through, and we all need to have that kind of vision that we kind of align ourselves to becoming. This is who Afro House is. Who is Afro House? Are you Afro House? That kind of thing there.
Yes.
So,
yes.
That's
no, there needs to be that movement.
Yeah, a movement.
The music is there. But I think the big key players are not stepping up and also moving in that way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, agreed. It needs to change, and I think that only happens when discussions like this happen. We have the discussion, and you have that discussion with somebody else and then it propagates. It becomes an idea, and from an idea, it becomes more.
You've just pushed that onto me, man. You've just pushed that because we definitely have some things on the pipeline with some friends of mine that we're thinking about. But now that you have put that in, we're thinking in terms of just ourselves, in terms of like a move, but like not thinking in that way. But if we're purposeful about what we're saying, that creates more intent.
Exactly.
Not being blasé, not trying to be like, as you said, like the hip hop boys are about that hip hop life. Do you know what I'm saying? They're not moving like, they're not like, oh, we're trying to be like, we are just, nah. They're like, yo,
we're hip hop. Yeah, I am hip hop. That's what they say. I want to be able to say, I am Afro House. I want people to say, oh, there goes Silk. Look, the way he's dressed, he's Afro House. I want that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I like that. You just got my imagination now going extremely. Like I'm like, you just throwing some stuff. And what was the third one you're saying?
You need fashion. You need music. And you need dance. Now, dance is the one I said we're halfway there. because
Yeah,
this is
we're
how we
halfway
hop with it. Because
Yeah.
we've got the house, some of the house dances, but you can take some of the Angolan Kuduro type Afro House dancers, and they are. I mean, I don't think they get recognized enough for what the stuff that they're doing, because it's so fast and it's kind of held in the Portuguese culture only. It's not progressing. But those guys' moves are influencing all the Afrobeat dancers and the other dancers out there.
Yeah,
they're being ignored for that.
Okay, I get you. I think in between the music and the dance, we pretty much got it covered there. That's kind of like I just think like we definitely don't know where our fashion stands. I think how we look, how we wear, how we move visually.
Visually.
Yeah,
we don't have that. And
we don't have that.
And I'll bring another point to the board, as you might say.
Because before you carry on, even the techno boys and the techno girls have that. They got that. You wear black.
Black.
Yeah,
black.
You're like, okay, I see you guys are into that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can see that. You know? Oh, you guys are going to that festival. Oh, okay.
You're all in black.
I see the people going to Tulum. They're like, oh, you guys are going to Tulum. I can see what you know.
Kind of look, yeah. But we haven't claimed a fashion yet that's ours that we can say to ourselves. I used to think it was going to be the fedoras. I thought it was going to be the caps because everyone was wearing them and everything. So I thought, okay, it's going to be that. Cairo, others that we can then do that. But it never caught on. It was just like a thing, a gimmick, or a thing that some of the other DJs did. It never became a trend in the Afro House scene. We need a trend, a pair of trainers like Adidas's to hip hop. For us in the UK, there's what they call it's called North something. The code.
I know, do you know what I mean?
The code everyone's
I mean every genre in the UK has got its
standard.
The indie peeps have got their thing. You know, you've got the grime has got their thing. Do you know what I mean?
Got their thing. I could tell. North Face. That's what I was looking for. But every single one of them has something. I know it's kind of like, oh, you're putting me in a box, but I'm not, because I'm actually, it's like a tribe, isn't it? I want to be part of my tribe.
That's it.
I want to roll with my tribe, but I'm happy.
I know where my tribe is at.
And
it's a good feeling. I love that. I used to love the feeling. I love it. Just where the people at.
That's correct, and that's the kind of energy. I mean, but even the Afrobeats, they have their kind of vibe now as well. So they've got theirs.
I think we've set the intention of that. I think in a year's time, we're gonna have the same time to talk about this, because I think this is gonna be interesting. I mean, just to recap and see the work we're gonna do. I have to chat to you about that more. I like it.
Let's talk. I'm ready to get involved. I'm ready to make, because I can see it. If we get that, then it starts to become, because currently we're nearly there, because we're breaking through. And also we need, and let's be quite frank, we just need some 2 or 3 big, massive Afro House hits, and then suddenly everybody will be climbing in. Because what do you think also, before we kind of close up, of the sudden insurge of people coming into Afro House that are from other scenes that are just suddenly finding themselves in Afro House? Some are finding themselves naturally, organically, and just becoming part, and then some are actually just coming into, what's the word I say? To see where they can set up shop to make products for the future. How are you seeing that?
I mean, I found there's a positive and negative to both. I think it's more positive than negative, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I feel like for the first time in terms of Europe is where I wouldn't say it's where the big festivals and where it's the media of what is perceived as big is. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And for the last 5 years, it's been nice to see Afro House grow into the more, let's say, the mainstream festivals places. You know what I mean? Like festivals, like lineups and stuff like this. Because I think before people were just thinking all right, the Afro House is quite gimmicky for them. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think they were just trying to come in. It's gonna be a small little trend. It's gonna go away. It didn't go in the way. Do you know what I mean? I still believe that it's going to be in a few years' time that, from, let's say,
it's going to be the biggest.
The Beatport category is going to move up. It's going to be one of, tech house is still big and all the other stuff. But once people start to get onto this, you know what I mean? Now we've got a category, we've got that. I mean, thanks to Track Source, they were doing their thing, you know what I mean? Like Mimo and the people. And you can start to see it's growing. Brazil, people forget that once Brazil jumps on there, that's a big population on that side. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
And they're jumping on it as well.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I mean? So it's nice to see. I think you sometimes get despondent thinking already, I mean, we've already been on this for 10 years. You know what I'm saying? And you're thinking it should be just pure. The people that who were there in the beginning should be the ones that are benefiting. I think the people in the beginning should also make sure that they are evolving with it.
Yeah, set the trends and open the doors for the others to follow.
Yeah, exactly. Set the trends. I mean, there's gonna be, when something becomes hot, everyone wants to jump into something.
Yeah,
I think for us, it's like there was a bubble of it. It mustn't just, you mustn't just like settle for like what it is now. I think there needs to be an imagination of what it can be.
Yes.
Especially with the big players, whoever are in here, like what it can be. Do you know what I mean? And I think there's two types of parts. There's like, there's the big commercial side of like, Afro House. And then there's like the club side of Afro House, where we're talking about where, where it came from, also the old school soulful house. Yeah. I think it needs more of the younger people coming into it and really pushing the older guys into like, rethinking their ideas.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think that's the sort of way that we mean. I think that if you remember that Beatport is the Afro House group or the Afrohouse label in Beatport, I think it's only 3 years old. I think it's maybe 3.5 years old, maybe less. So in that instance, that means that we've just started. This is you're kind of a forefather of. If you looked at the great forefathers of hip hop, people look back in years to come and call Floyd Lavine, oh yeah, a forefather of Afrohouse. That's how I see it, and I envisage this.
Because I mean, if you see, thank you, but if you see Beatport and saying that we're just only 3 years into that mainstream, that and most people don't understand that is the main platform for what is
electronic music
globally. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not just Apple Music. We get the stuff that you're hearing on radio, but like this is what's happening in the fest. This is what the kids are listening to in festivals. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Apart from each specific, like region, wherever. And to only have that for like 3 years, when most of these places have been there for 20 years or something like that.
More than that,
24 years, I think. And we just like slowly like now
just emerged.
24 years, from 2000 since like what? Almost 20 years or something. And we just getting on now. There's a lot of growing to do, and I think that if we're smart about it, and and I think when people come into our scene, we're a little bit more organized. And we have an identity. I think that's important. We have to start to look at ourselves first, and whoever jumps in will
create from there. Yeah. And we're running out of time, but you've just said another thing, which is right on the nail on the head. We need to be more organized. Management. Not everybody can be producer, DJ, and the star. You have to have a team. You have to have behind the curse.
It's important.
Yeah, we need more journalists. We need more platforms about Afro House and all that stuff as well. We need people talking about it because it encourages others to do the same.
Definitely. I think that is the key. If you've hit the nail as well, that's the key. We have to have that. We have to have more, like journalists. Like we have to have publications.
Yeah.
Why are we waiting for other publications to write about us? We have to have our own mix mag.
Have our own mix mag. Have our own. So, once again, I throw back to hip hop. But if you had the Source magazine, you had Hot 97, they all had their own media icons and media people. So they said, okay, you're not going to let us into yours. We'll just do our own and we'll just build our own selves up. And
definitely.
That's the key.
I think that's important.
All right. There's lots to discuss, as you know, and we'll do more offline. We don't do enough of this, I know. We need to do more.
We don't. I like this. I think we should actually set up another one. We should do a Zoom one just to have a catch up properly.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But closing statements, things that you might want to tell people to get involved in that. We've got like 4 or 5 minutes. I'll leave the floor to you, sir.
I mean, apart from listening to the EP and listening to the single, thank you, Mr. Silk. No, man, like everybody be safe out there. Let's be honest. It's still a pandemic. I just want people to be good and be safe. From my side of things, I'm keeping on working. So just follow my channels from my Instagram to SoundCloud. I'll be releasing some new music. I'm doing a podcast coming soon, which will be about just having chats about original stuff, like things that I think for young producers and young DJs and young artists, I think there'll be lessons there'll be lessons in there that they'll like to know. I mean, just things like what it's like to be on tour, the struggles of tour, the mental health issues. I'm going to talk about stuff like that, not necessarily just the music. You know what I mean? Just the day-to-day issues and things to look out for and stuff like that. So that's going to be coming up. I'm going to be doing that probably in the next couple of months. And yeah, I'm going to have like, different interviews about like, just the real behind the scenes kind of conversation, as raw and as authentic as it's going to be, So look out for that. I think this year, 2020 is going to be about that. It's about looking into what one can add, what's the added value that I can add into our community and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. Just want to shout out everyone who's asking the questions and stuff in the chat. I did sort of shout out Samantha Blackburn, Adrian from Dijon, Bo Blims was in there. I see Dan B, so information all in there as well. I forgot to shout out your questions. Michelle Cartello, I apologize, my fault. Please, the next time we get Mr. Floyd Lavine on here, we'll do a questions kind of thing from everybody.
Sure.
The conversation was just too good, I guess, and I got carried away. I apologize. Please, people, please subscribe, share, repost, and we're trying to build up Drums Radio to make it a platform for Afro House to everyone get involved. Please do shout about us. Really appreciate your love. Mr. Floyd Lavine, I'm looking forward to our next conversation already.
Oh, my brother, thank you so much for taking the time. And shout out to you, Mr. Silk, man. Has always been a champion for Afro House, and what a beautiful man. And always, I wish you a wonderful day. Let's call it that.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for joining us there as well. We're looking forward to the new stuff on the Afrikan Tales label. Make sure you go and check it out on Spotify now. Wait for the EP in a couple months. March 12th? Am I correct? Yeah, March 12th. Or March 12th when it drops. And we're going to do that. But let's keep in touch. Drums Radio Live. Thank you so much to Drums Radio team for making this happen again. And we'll see you soon.
Brother.
Thank you very much, brother.
Ciao.